Hi, I'm Ellie, owner of Gracious Garlands, and I'm so excited to launch our mailbox kits. Now you can purchase this kit online at graciousgarlands.com, and we will ship you everything you need to design a beautiful floral mailbox of your own. So let's go over what's included in the kit. Everyone will receive green floral wire, which you will use in order to affix all of the greens to your mailbox. You will also receive an 8-foot white pine garland to use as your base. You will receive bunches of Fraser Fir, bunches of Magnolia, 5 pine cones, a half bunch of Carolina Sapphire, a half bunch of Leyland Cypress, and a full bunch of Gold Tipped Cedar. The things that are not included are garden shears and bows if you like them. We also like to add things like winterberry to our mailboxes to give them a festive flair. Step 1 is going to be preparing all of our supplies so that we can get this done quickly and efficiently. First, you're going to want to cut several strands of wire, long wire, so that you have enough to wrap around the post of your mailbox and encase certain greens. So I will cut about 4 to 5 strands this long. So I will cut 4 of these. It's always a good tip to tie these here so they're easily accessible while you're working. The other thing is some of the Fraser Fir branches you receive, you may want to pare down. This one, although you don't want to pare all of them down because you do want some long branches for height, but let's say you didn't need a long branch. I'm going to show you where to cut this in order to make multiple branches out of this one branch. So this natural spot right here shows that if I cut this, that gives me 2 beautiful pieces. So right wherever the natural split is, and you can see a new branching part. So now I've got 2 branches out of my 1 branch for you to get more out of your Fraser Fir, although we do equip you with lots of pieces. Now that we're ready, let's get to work. Step 2 is establishing our base. And we're gonna use the white pine garland to wrap the post, and then we're gonna use our Fraser Fir stems to cover the post and create a really great foundation for the rest of our decorative elements. Now, our fantastic farm has started adding little pine cones to the end of some of these garlands, and so yours may come complete with pine cones. And I thought this looked really pretty to be at the base as a sweet little touch. If you don't have these pine cones and you cut a piece of garland that maybe you're using of your own, I always like to use the pretty feathery end at the top. And I'm gonna tell you what that looks like to me. When I come here and press this garland up against the post, this fan looks like a little feather in someone's cap. And so I like if we can see an image, a shot over here for the fan, the tails to be sticking out and having height above your post. So no matter how tall your mailbox is, it's always nice to have a little bit flying out at the top. And so then I'm gonna take my piece of wire that I've cut, and I will wrap this wire very tightly around both the post and the white pine garland here. Now, you can be so forceful with this wire. So you just take it and twist tie it on. And I think it's really great if you have this, if you have a little notch at the top of your post, to make sure that you are tying that wire right within that crease, so that if it moves around and if it was not in the crease, then it's going to be loose and it might come apart a little bit more. So tie right at that crease, and then we're going to take our garland and start wrapping the post. And this is going to be act as a shelf for where we're stuffing all of our stems. Sorry for my not so technical terms. we will just wrap around. We want to go around here. Keep going. I always think it's great to go through here, but because I have the pine cones, I'm not going to do that. But if you have any structure where you have holes on the post here, these are great places to wrap through and keep going around your mailbox. Okay, and I made sure to keep my place of wire down at the post so I would be ready. You always want to weave under the needles, the tips, so that you don't flatten out any of the pretty ends. Now, I'm going to want to make sure that this is actually wrapped quite tightly at the bottom so that the wind does not move it around too much and it stays secure throughout the whole holiday season. Now, the next step is to add a few pieces of wire down the post to also act as more shelves, because we need more places to stuff along the post in order for the design to look complete. So I'll take a few more pieces of wire, and see over here there's no place for me to stuff any greens right at this point, and so this is a good place for me to install a wire. And when I do this, I do it loose because this is going to be stuffed with lots of greens. So I tie this off here and make sure I tug on it quite a bit so that I know that when I start stuffing greens down here, it stays tied together. And then I'm gonna look and see, is there any other place where I might wanna add a wire? This is a shorter mailbox, so I might not need that many more. I think I will add one right through this little hole here to be another shelf for our greens. Okay, so there we go. I mean, we've got quite a bit of space there because we're gonna start stuffing some greens down in it. If you realize as you've started that this is too loose, you can simply take pieces of the wire and twist it tighter in order to keep that more secure. Now we're gonna start adding Fraser Fir pieces to the mailbox. Okay, now we have our white pine installed and it's time to start stuffing our Fraser Fir pieces. Remember, you're going to get several bunches of Fraser Fir and you may want to pare them down to smaller pieces, but definitely don't cut the length at first. I would say use your taller stems as you start, and then as you're going, if you need a shorter stem, you can pare down. But do that later, not in the beginning. So let's get started adding Fraser Fir. I like to start from the top and work my way down. And something about our signature Gracious Garlands design is that we really decorate mostly the top half of the mailbox. I don't do much else besides the beautiful white pine garland on the post because I just think it's so pretty on its own, kind of looking like a candy cane stripe all the way down. So the other thing to take into consideration is that you don't need to stick your stems in horizontally. They fan out, the sprays fan out on their own. So you're really going to want to stick in vertically in order to create force between the stem and the mailbox to keep everything in place. That gives a really tight, seamless, beautiful design, That is our secret when we're designing mailboxes. So I'm gonna start getting to work, and Reagan's gonna film me make my magic. As I'm going, I always realize here at the top gets a little top heavy, so I typically add another wire around the top of the mailbox to keep the stems just a little snug. And I realize I didn't cut this long enough, so I need to cut a longer piece of wire. It should be long enough now, and I'll come around and hug the stems, weaving it through a little bit, but giving another place for the stems to stay secure and not be swept away with the wind. Okay, for the last finishing touches, it's good to cut a few smaller stems and use these pieces to just cover any small mechanics. Don't be too worried at this stage about stems showing. You're still adding a lot more greens, and you can come back and snip some stems or add a few little sprigs at the end. So I'm just taking some time to fill out a little bit more of these holes here, because these Fraser Fir really act as our natural mechanics on the mailbox, just like chicken wire would, and they're our base for stuffing the rest of our greens. Each kit comes complete with 4 bunches of magnolia. So you have a total of about 20 stems of magnolia in your kit. Now all of our bunches come with rubber bands around them. So I just take them off with my fingers. As you've seen in the videos, my hands are really rough. You can certainly cut the rubber band off and dispose of these. Now I wanted to show you just the variety of stems that come in these bunches and where you should use these different stems. These longer pieces, these longer narrow pieces go great at the top because they really take up a lot of space, and because of the height of the mailbox, they just work really well up top. Whereas these smaller, more delicate pieces go well on the sides or in the front to cover certain mechanics. So let's get to work adding the magnolia. What's important is these have been in transportation, shipping to you. So it's important to shake the stems in order to fluff the leaves out and make the whole look feel fuller and more luscious. Okay, so we have finally finished adding all of our magnolia to the mailbox. And as you can see, the Fraser Fir acts as a wonderful nest for the magnolia stems. And again, with the magnolia stems, you're wanting to insert them in vertically. So our next step is adding some beautiful texture that allows for movement and depth throughout your arrangement. So what you have in your kit is this yummy Carolina Sapphire. It's my favorite. It smells so wonderful. Leyland Cypress and Gold Tipped Cedar. We're gonna take these bunches and add them within the magnolia so it feels like more of a wintry mix rather than a southern splendor. All right, let's get to work. So if you have a few big stems that are really bushy, you can break these down into separate pieces, and I encourage you to do that because this one piece, it's unlikely that this there's a spot for this one big piece. So I'm just gonna find a natural break here in the middle, and then voila, 2 pieces. And this is gonna actually probably go really great either at the front or the back because of the way it fans out. So now we have the Gold Tipped Cedar. I love this because it adds these little delicate touches to the end and such variation to your arrangement. Okay, we are almost finished. We're gonna add bows and pine cones last. You might not be a bow person, and that's totally fine. We have a mailbox that you can purchase on graciousgarlands.com if you live in Austin or Nashville called the Natural Mailbox, and it's complete with all of these beautiful greens and pine cones, but no bows. So if you're more of the natural vibe, that one's for you. But if you love the pops of red, we're gonna add some bows. Now, remember, your bows ribbon does not come in this kit yet. We may add that later, and but we are gonna add bows because that is our signature look. What I have done is designed this with intention and knowing that I'm gonna add bows to this mailbox, leaving a pretty perfect spot right at the neck here for a bow. And so any stems or mechanics I'm not too worried about because I know that my bow is gonna go right here. So let's get this attached, and if you would like to know how to make a bow, comment in the section below and let me know if you want me to make you a bow making tutorial. Okay, let's put our second bow on. It's important to pay attention to the height of this bow and to match your second bow to the same height. So make sure you come around to the front of the mailbox to pay attention to where this next bow needs to go. And this is why it's super helpful to have a buddy when you're doing these, when you're decorating your mailbox. Maybe Reagan can help me out. Let me know if I'm at the right spot. Remember, you can always fluff out the loops once you have it installed to make it look more even. Okay, the last finishing touch is adding your pine cones. So I'm going to show you how to string your pine cones along wires so you have a cute little cluster to add wherever you think is the best place on your mailbox. There's really not the most perfect place, it depends on your design. So first you take the end of the wire and you're just going to weave it around the top of the pine cone through the little needles and then tie off there. Okay, and then I can add one or two more to this. So what you'll do is you'll take your second cone and just wrap the wire a few times around like that. And then we're good to attach the mailbox. I was trying to figure out where I thought these would be cute, and I'm thinking maybe right up in here where they're kind of tucked underneath. Oftentimes, depending on the mailbox, I may put them up here, but I think with the way this mailbox is designed, the box is sitting pretty far forward, and so they look a little sad out here by themselves. So I'm going to tuck them up here and nestle them with these branches, and then I've done the job of hiding my stem mechanics here. So you'll just take your wire and weave it through your stems. Let's get it behind there. And honestly, everything's pretty sticky at this point, so however you can twist the wire around and get it to stay, it will probably be sufficient. So I'm gonna do the same thing with these 3, and then we'll be finished. You did it, and I hope you had a great time designing your mailbox. Remember, anyone can do this, and this is a form of art. Have fun with it. Feel free to make it your own. My look is pretty polished because that is just what it has evolved to be, and I like the ways that the greens can show off their silhouette throughout the mailbox and against the mailbox post. But your design might look different than mine. Now you have everything you need to make your own mailbox at home. So I hope you enjoy your Gracious Garlands mailbox kit. Please tag us on Instagram and show us your creations. We can't wait to share with you and everyone else your holiday splendor. Enjoy this season.